Israel ambassador. I'm very delighted to welcome you.
Kära riksdagsledamöter, dear former prime minister, kära vänner, shalom. Idag firar vi staten Israel 75-årsjubileum här i Sveriges riksdag. Stort tack till bröderna Oskarsson som organiserat. Vi har många anledningar att vara stolta över Israel och vad man uppnått. Jag hade tänkt dela 75 av de anledningarna, men eftersom jag bara fått 8 minuter för att tala kommer det här 7,5 anledningar att vara stolt. Don't hold me on the 8 minutes, maybe it will be a little bit longer. But let's start. Israel existerar. Vi ska inte ta det för givet. That is something very important to remember, because 75 years is a short time, but people's memory maybe is not that long. And people tend to forget. When my parents were born, the state of Israel did not exist. My father had to go through the Holocaust, because there was nowhere to escape. My mother's parents came to Haifa before the war, but they lost their entire families because there was nowhere to escape and no one to accept their families. We remember that every day. And that is extremely important today. For example, with the ongoing war in Ukraine, we see the importance of having Israel's borders open to Jews who are under stress. We have seen more than 15,000 Jews coming from Ukraine, 40,000 from Russia, and also from Belarus, just since the war began. That is extremely important, it's part of the essence of the state of Israel. 2. Israel har säkra gränser och kan försvara sig mot hot. Just as Göran Persson said, Israel has the right to defend itself. And there's not a single day since the creation of the state where we did not have some kind of military threat. As we're speaking right now, as we're celebrating here in Stockholm, hundreds of thousands of Israeli citizens are sitting in shelters in the south, but some of the missiles are reaching all the way to Tel Aviv or the greater Tel Aviv area. We have not had one single day where we did not have some kind of military threat. And the country has the right to defend itself, and we should be very proud of that we can defend ourselves. And right now, over the last few hours, more than 200 rockets shot at Israel. More than 100 rockets last week. We have the right to defend ourselves, and when we seek terrorists, Islamic jihadist terrorists in Gaza, we pinpoint them as precisely as we can. And that is an important point to remember. Men, Israel har fred med de flesta av sina grannar. Tack vare Abraham Accords öppnar sig nya horisonter. One of these horizons, for example, I just came now from Stockholm University, where I participated in a conference with the Moroccan embassy, where we spoke about multiculturalism in Morocco. Extremely important. The Emirati ambassador was there as well. This is an important message that peace can happen in the Middle East. We have peace, of course, with our longest borders, with Jordan. We have peace with Egypt. And this is something that we are extremely proud of and is an important element of our success. We do not have peace yet with the Palestinians. It will happen eventually, but we cannot negotiate with terrorist organizations around us. We cannot negotiate with Islamist jihadists. Israel garanterar religionsfrihet i Jerusalem och det helige landet. That's also a very important element, another thing that we should be very proud of. The freedom of religion. Never in the history of Jerusalem, the city was open the city was open for all three monotheistic religions to practice their religion freely. And that is something that everyone should be proud of. Now, if we think about what happened in Temple Mount just a few weeks ago, you know, this year, Ramadan, Easter, and Passover were celebrated at the same time, which is wonderful. And we had hundreds of thousands of worshippers celebrating their holidays, each and every one of them in their church, in their mosque, or in their synagogue. We had more than 1.3 million Muslims praying peacefully on Temple Mount during the holy month of Ramadan. Do you know how many Jews prayed on Temple Mount? None. None, because we respect the status quo. The status quo since 1967, when Jerusalem was reunited, says that each of the religions can practice where they are used to practice, and Jews are not allowed to pray on Temple Mount, and we respect that. There are certain visiting hours where we can come as tourists, not to disturb any of the prayers. We respect that, but we want our religion to be respected as well. And if there are a few, unfortunately, a few dozen troublemakers who are bringing fireworks, who are bringing sticks and stones to the mosque, I don't think this is something you usually bring with you when you come to prayer. And they're the ones who are creating all the tension. They're the ones who are creating all the problems. That, unfortunately, is what gets the attention of the international community. Not the fact that 1.3 million prayed without any problem. And this, by the way, I spoke about the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, PIJ. This, by the way, was orchestrated by them, and they are a proxy of Iran. And they're the ones who are causing the problems right now. They're the ones who are, unfortunately, taking Hamas with them by shooting at Israel right now. And that is quite unfortunate, that an Iranian proxy, a jihadist movement, is deteriorating the situation in Gaza and for the entire region, and that we have hundreds of thousands of people in shelters right now. Israel a startup nation, and that's something fascinating to talk about. And I can talk about it for much more than 8 minutes. But remember that we stunned the world with our experiment with socialism. We stunned the world with the kibbutz movement. And now I think we're stunning the world with our ecosystem of innovation. The fact that one small country has so many unicorns. We have the highest amount of unicorns per capita. We have more than 90 unicorns just in one country. That's more than many big European countries. That is enormous. We have a big investment in R&D, the highest per GDP of any other country. Sweden is very high up there as well. I think number 2 is South Korea, and number 3 is Sweden. We are countries that invest in R&D. We are innovative countries. That is something that we are extremely, extremely proud of. But we're proud of the fact that innovation serves our fight against climate change. Because you know, Israel is a small country, 60% of it is a desert. We have water shortages, but we manage to control them. 50% of our water comes from desalination plants. We are offering desalination plants now to our neighboring countries. As part of the Abraham Accord, we are getting solar energy from Jordan. They're getting desalinated water from us. And this whole project is sponsored through Emirati companies. That's a new image of new things happening in the Middle East. And of course, if we're talking about Israel's achievements in the field of innovation, science, research, we have 13 Nobel Prize winners. That is more than China. And that is quite incredible. And that is something we're extremely proud of. And it's in literature, chemistry, economics, and also peace. That's something that we should definitely be very proud of. Brings me to number 6. Mashav Israel's Sida. I'm very proud of the fact we have the Israeli spirit, the fact that such a small country has one of the world's first development aid agencies. Mashav exists for more than 60 years. Mashav actually helped SIDA work in Africa in the 1960s and 70s. We work together with Sweden aid agencies together in other countries, and I hope we will be able to do that in the future. But the fact that Israel has a development aid agency for more than 60 years, starting when we were still a developing country, is something that I'm extremely proud of. And like the case of Sweden, we tripled our assistance budget last year. All of the extra budget went to one country, Ukraine. Brings me to the seventh point, Israel's democracy. I'm very proud of Israel's democracy. Israel has a very vibrant democracy. How do we know that? Look at what's happening in our streets. We have demonstrations from both sides, every side. Everyone has the right to demonstrate, and boy, people in Israel are very engaged, and they demonstrate, and the demonstrations are peaceful. And I think that is a sign of a very vibrant democracy. Vi kommer till 7,5. Jag är stolt över Israels rättssystem, men vi har ingen konstitution. And the fact that we don't have a constitution goes back maybe to the years of Ben-Gurion. We couldn't agree on having a constitution. So he said, we will not have a constitution, we will have a set of basic laws, and they will be something more like the English system. And that works to a certain extent, but we never really got the balance of power. Nobody's really happy with the way that goes. Meaning, some say that our Supreme Court, which we're all very proud of, we should all be very proud of Israel's Supreme Court and the way the Supreme Court defends minority rights. But some say that over the last 30 years, the Supreme Court has taken a very activist approach, and not everybody likes that. And not everybody likes the fact that maybe the Supreme Court, the way that it is, that the judges are chosen, or there may be some lack of diversity of opinions within the Supreme Court. But that's what one side is saying. And this is democracy. This is why, and we never really got this balance between the three branches of power. We never really got this balance adjusted so everybody is happy. And that's what's going on now. I would say the two of the most contested laws, the ones that are causing most of the, I would say, upheaval, or that not everybody's so happy with them. One is, how do you decide, how do you define who nominates the judges of the Supreme Court? Right now it's the judges nominating themselves because they have, together with the Association Bar of the lawyers, they have a majority in the committee. Maybe that will be changed. We will not be the first country in the world where a government or politicians have a say on how to nominate the Supreme Court judges. We will still be a very strong democracy. And the second law, which is important to talk about it here in a parliament, is how can the Supreme Court overrule laws that are taken by the legislative. So the legislators, the lawmakers, right now the Supreme Court can say this law is not constitutional. It's not constitutional, although we don't have a constitution. So it's a very tricky question, and I'm speaking to lawmakers. It is a very tricky situation. What I'm saying is, it's a process. Israel is a process. Israel created so many things over 75 years. We should be extremely proud of them, and some things are still a work in progress. So I thank you all for being proud of Israel, not just today, but every day of the year. I know we have many friends in Sweden. I know we have many friends here in Riksdagen. And I thank you for your friendship. I thank you for being with us throughout the 75 years and for the many years to come. So, toda rabba, and looking forward to seeing you also in Israel in the years to come. Tak så mycket.